let's get talking now. Africa's most populous nation with more than Africa's most populous nation with more than 200 million people face a series of complex challenges with regards to business development and the economic landscape. We'll explore some of these challenges and also discuss the numerous opportunities that the country offers to investors, of course, both local and international, and meet President Tinubu's efforts and strategies to scale up the economy. I'm being joined live by Dr. Waheed Olagunju. He is the Chairman, National Committee on the Accreditation and Certification of National Business Development Service Providers, a former Managing Director of the Bank of Industry, and a former senior journalist. Good afternoon. It's good to have you in the studio.
Good afternoon to you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, a lot when we talk about MSMEs, but having you here, I want to first start with what really is this? What are the specific roles of the BDSPs? What do they do to help support these MSMEs in straight terms?
You hit the nail on the head. Support. BDSPs are business development service providers. So broadly speaking, I call them consultants. When they say support, that means they are supposed to assist MSMEs realize their business vision. A huge population can be an asset, can be a liability. If a significant percentage of those who fall within the working class bracket, that's between maybe 16 years and 60 or 65, are productive, that means they can earn income. It's when they earn income that they can meet the basic needs of life, such as feeding, clothing, shelter, access to education, healthcare. These are the areas addressed under the multidimensional poverty report released recently by the National Bureau of Statistics. So it's only when you're productive that you can earn income. And being productive, the curricula we inherited from the colonial masters prepared us mainly for white-collar jobs. Go to school, get a job either in the public sector or private sector. But with the demography of 200 million, like you rightly stated in your intro, there aren't many white-collar jobs in the public or private sector, right, for us anymore. However, self-employment is the way to go. Entrepreneurship, given our natural resource endowments that are largely untapped, unemployment in Nigeria, I believe, is artificially induced. Because if we are to take advantage of our endowments, I am strongly of the view that we'll probably not have enough manpower to run the Nigerian economy. I'll take your mind back to the 70s and 80s. I don't know how old you are then. We did not have enough Nigerians to run the Nigerian economy. We had to depend on labor from the west coast of Africa. And that was when Nigeria's GDP was growing at perhaps double digits, and industry capitalization was growing at about 80%. That was when we had the likes of PAN, Bojo, Adeboale Electrical Industries, those glass and tire and rubber manufacturing. A lot of our industries were working. So we can go back to those era, however, through a different strategy. Because we were importing most of our inputs then. Yeah. But now, if we domesticate our production capacity, and that's what I was talking about, our natural resource endowment. We have huge agricultural resources across the country. The Nigerian Institute for Industrial Research in Oshodi and the Raw Materials Research and Development Council some years ago came up with studies of raw materials that are available in each of the 704 local governments in Nigeria. They include agriculture and soil minerals. How many of our people are aware of the endowments in their localities? So that's actually the beginning. We need to sensitize our people. And there was a study conducted about 10 years ago, jointly by the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University and KPMG, looking at challenges facing MSMEs in Nigeria. And they came up with an acronym, MISFIT. M means market, not having enough market opportunities. The second has to do with infrastructure challenges. F has to do with financial challenges. The second I is information, right? And then the last is technology, which is T. So you can see the information I talked about is there. How many of us are aware of the business opportunities that are abound in our country? A lot of foreigners see these opportunities, but Nigerians are not seeing the opportunities. So we need to enlighten our people, to educate our people. It's in holy books. Our people perish for lack of knowledge. So that is the starting point. Even the Industrial Revolution, the political revolution that took place in Europe in those days, they were preceded by periods of enlightenment. People need to be enlightened. People need to be informed. So that's one of the responsibilities of the BDSPs. Sensitize our people to the business opportunities in the environment and even beyond. We can go beyond the environment now because of technology. I'll come back and address that later. So BDSPs are supposed to enlighten our people on the business opportunities in the environment. That's those who do not have a business idea yet. But those who have an idea of what they want to do, they have a vision. But how do you want to go about it? You need a business model canvas. You need the value proposition. For you to succeed, you must be providing solutions to some challenges. But that is when people will be willing to part with their hard-earned resources in exchange for the goods and services that you want to offer. So you must be meeting their needs. So you must have a market. So it starts with, what do you want to do? What gaps have you identified in your environment or even beyond? So most people think that they know what to do, but they need to be guided. And that's where the BDSPs come into play. A lot of people say, I want to go into fish farming. They think it's just going to dig a pond somewhere, getting water on their own. No, you will make mistakes that are avoidable. And that's why the mortality rate for MSMEs is very, very high. It's as high as perhaps 80% within the first 3 years of the establishment.
Yes, I have that report
yes,
too.
Yes,
So 80% of MSMEs die.
Yes,
like
exactly. That's because most of them don't know what to do. So that's where business development service providers come in to hold their hands. Okay, fine. You have this vision. Fine. You want to go about also. What do you know about this business? You need to build your capacity as an entrepreneur. You need knowledge. You need to be knowledgeable about what you want to go into. How do you want to go about it? There are experts in aquaculture who can guide you if you want to go into fish farming. There's various options for fish farming depending on where you live. You know, you can buy plastic containers of different sizes. They are scalable. In other words, there is cage farming. You can also do that where you have a huge mass of water. So the BDSPs will guide you on how to go about it. Now, that's primary production. Now, what kind of where do you get your fingerlings from, right? What kind of food do you need to give them, right? Fish feed, right? What kind of chemicals do you need? How do you prevent high mortality rate? Because if anything goes wrong, mortality can also be high. Yeah. Same thing with poultry, right? So you need to be guided. So that's what BDSPs do. They guide you on, show you how to go about it, and then even after harvesting, do you want to process? You want to dry? You want to have them grilled or whatever, you know, for the market? Or you want to sell them fresh as fillet? They will guide you. Who will assist you? What kind of markets do you want to sell? How do you package? Same thing with cassava, for instance. Cassava can be raw material for industry or can be food. From cassava, you get gari, you get fufu, and you get starch. Or even at an advanced stage, glucose syrup that can be used by the food and beverage industries. So you can operate along different value chains. So the BDSPs are knowledgeable people who are supposed to guide you. Now, if we are going to have the critical mass of entrepreneurs that we need in Nigeria, a country of this size, right? We have a lot of advantages. We are not landlocked. We have access to the Atlantic. It's a huge advantage. We don't suffer the challenges being suffered by countries that are landlocked. We have natural resource endowments in each of the 704 local governments. We can farm perhaps all year round, right? We have raw materials. Some years ago, about 44 of them were identified to be in commercial quantity. We have gemstones, precious stones, that we can add value to them and export them and earn income. So the BDSPs, for us to operate in a country of, to harness those opportunities in a country of 200 million, you definitely need more BDSPs to have more entrepreneurs. So that was why the Federal Ministry of Industrial Investment, some years back, through the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, came up with the idea of accrediting BDSPs. Because there are a lot of maybe incompetent people who parade themselves as BDSPs.
Okay.
Some even exploit the ignorance of their supposed customers. So we realized, so they came up with the idea of accrediting those BDSPs. Yeah. Having them accredited also means perhaps retraining some of those BDSPs to ensure that they are equipped to discharge the responsibilities of BDSPs. So two institutions were identified. The Kaduna Business School in Kaduna to drive the process of accrediting BDSPs in the north. They run capacity building programs for them over some weeks and pass them through some tests before they are accredited. Now, down south, you have the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University. So in the last 3 years or so, between the two of them, they've been able to accredit on the average about 400 BDSPs, right? And these BDSPs each, so we're looking at maybe about 800 BDSPs, right? So on each of the BDSPs, they pair them with MSMEs.
Okay. So
that they can work with those MSMEs, help them develop potentially bankable business plans, let them have growth plans, probably prepare them for the market, also prepare them for accessing finance. But that's another challenge. Like under the acronym MISFIT I told you about, statistics out there shows that about 90% of loan applications from SMEs get rejected by financial institutions in Nigeria because they don't know how to prepare their applications. They don't know how to meet the risk acceptance criteria of the banks or the eligibility criteria of the banks. Because these applications are ill-prepared, most of the banks now spend a lot of time going through all these applications. So when BDSPs do their work well, they help the MSMEs to package their applications. When the applications are well packaged, the BDSPs, a number of them are retired bankers or people who know what the banks need. So they prepare those applications. Where they are well prepared, the rejection rate is reduced. The approval chances are increased. And when the loans are also granted, the BDSPs continue to support the MSMEs such that they make proper use of the loans and they ensure repayment to the financial institutions. And the entrepreneurs too to realize return on investment. Because the, credit is only one of the sources of funding for MSMEs. Really, your first call as an MSME should not be to go for loans. Start with your own savings. You take the risk with your own savings. Then meet family and friends, people who know you. The banks don't really know you as such. But if your family and friends support you, and you have your own skin in the game, because if you want to, if your business is worth, investment is 5 million, the bank will not give you 5 million. The bank will at best probably give you 3 million, 3.5 million, or 4 million. But you must have your own 2, 1.5, or whatever into the business. That's what will keep you awake at night. That's what will ensure that you put in your best. So when you repay the loan, then other people will get their loans as well. So but my contention is that in all my almost 3 decades working at the Bank of Industry, I came to the conclusion that unlike what most people feel, that money is their challenge. No. It is the absence of or short supply of potentially bankable proposals. We've now really been short of funds. Even way back 1986, when we launched the Structural Adjustment Program, the World Bank gave Nigeria a facility of $280 million. They used to call it SME Apex at that time to support MSMEs. But we could not draw down. And we are paying commitment fees. And part of the money had to be returned. Yes, because our people were not coming up with bankable proposals. So with BDSPs, If we have sufficient BDSPs in Nigeria, the probability of coming up, chance of coming up with bank proposals will increase. That will also reduce the mortality rate of small businesses, and realizing that MSMEs are the engine of growth all over the world. For us to realize the president's vision of
I'm really
growing our economy
honestly,
to a multi-trillion-dollar
it looks
economy
like taller than
over the next,
achievable.
It is doable.
He said that at the NESG summit.
Yes,
and
that was.
I'm looking at the roles BDSP now would even play here because I see they are key.
I was coming to that. The private sector is supposed to account for about 85% of the investments required under Nigeria's National Development Plan, 2021 to 2025. That is the first component of Nigeria's Agenda 2050, right? That was designed by the immediate past administration. And the president did say at the NESG that he is inheriting the assets and liabilities of his predecessor.
Yes.
And that development plan has also been taken over by this government. During the dialogue that took place after the president's address, highly inspiring address, the Minister of Budget and National Planning did say that they were implementing Nigeria's Agenda 2050. And if I may say, that was one of the president's best speeches in recent times. And I would implore that that speech be played back to Nigerians almost every day. Because we all need to buy into that vision. It is doable. We have a can-do spirit, we Nigerians. If you look at some of the achievements we've accomplished in the last 20 years, some of them are unprecedented anywhere in the world. Look at the revolution in the telecom sector. Before the sector was deregulated by President Obasanjo's government around 2001, 2002, and the GSM licenses were auctioned, we had only about 300 or 400,000 telephone lines in Nigeria. Yesterday, I heard the NCC saying that the mobile phone penetration is now about 220 million, which means that almost every Nigerian now has a mobile phone, has access to telephone. Whereas under the 1980 Lagos Plan of Action that was adopted in 1980 by the Organization of African Unity in Lagos, we are talking of one telephone line per 100 Nigeria by year 2000. And that was also the target set by the International Telecommunications Union. That was before we had the Millennium Development Goals in year 2000, and then the SDGs in 2015. In those days, we used to have sectorial targets, right? We're talking of 100 phone lines, one line to 100 million Nigerians. But you can see now we've been able to achieve that. The rate of expansion and improvement in Nigeria's telecom sector is unprecedented anywhere in the world. We don't celebrate it. Now, it was because of the success we made in that sector. That was why the banking revolution also succeeded. Because the banking sector became IT-driven. With that infrastructure provided by ICT, the banks wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And it takes my mind back to 1986-85, when Colonel Tanko Iwa was Minister of Communications. There was a seminar at the United Training School in Oshodi on the desirability of Nigeria adopting digital technology. And all these things were anticipated at that time. So when they started materializing, my mind went back to the conference I attended in the 80s, when they're talking about desirability of digital technology. So that is what has happened. We've achieved self-sufficiency in cement production. There was a time when we had cement armada, we were importing cement. But because of cement policy that President Obasanjo came up in 2002, when Chief Kola Jawode was Minister for Industry, in 10 years, we became self-sufficient. Now, we had entrepreneurs who took advantage of those, the Alaji Dangotes of this world. At that time, we used to have presidential party on Saturdays, discussing the private sector. I mean, Alaji Aliko Dangote did say that when the Obasanjo was 80, that he called them to say, look, I want to create 50 Nigerian billionaires in dollars. What can we do to make this happen? And he worked with the private sector, and they came up with that cement policy. The telecom sector too. We had Engineer Anderson Dukwe, who drove NCC over a 10-year period. That guy did a yeoman's job. He's not celebrated. But implementing the communications policy under President Obasanjo's administration, he drove it. And that was where all the MTNs of this world could come in, Econet. Vodacom, they suffered from analysis paralysis. They said Nigerians were too poor to afford digital GSM. They didn't come to Nigeria. But Africans who believe in Africa, as in MTN, as in Strive Mazuya of Zimbabwe, Econet. Then later, our own chief, Michael Denuga, came in. Then Dr. Akim Bello Sage brought in Etisalat. You can see what has happened now. So it is doable. So we've done well in those sectors. If we could do, what we need to do is to replicate those sectors. And look at the banking sector. Tonele Melo, Jim Movia, Mr. Fola Adiola, Taya Adeno, all those people are Peter side.
Very well.
Even Mr. Waledu. These are Nigerians who are trained in Nigeria. The banking sector in Nigeria today is performing better than most advanced countries, and I say so with all sense of responsibility. The quality of the service rendered by Nigerian banks is higher than what banks are delivering in Europe and North America and other parts of the world. So if we've been able to do that in banking, we've done that in ICT, we've done that in cement. So we need to look at other sectors. And it won't take us as long anymore because of ICT.
Yeah.
And we have one of the best ministers of communication we could ever have in this country, Mr. Boson Tijani, Minister of Communication, Innovation, and Digital Economy. So with digitalization and Internet of Things, we can move faster and achieve higher efficiency with ICT being applied. You can see the role of ICT in telemedicine. You can see the role of ICT in agriculture. You can see the role of ICT in all other sectors. So it won't take us as long. So that's why I believe it's doable to achieve the multi-trillion-dollar GDP by a 10-year period. But there must be a whole of society buy-in. Because some years back, the African Charter on Popular Participation and Development was adopted in Arusha, Tanzania, when late Professor Adeba Adedeji was Economic Secretary of was Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa. And they were saying that, look, democracy and development are two sides of the same coin, but communication is what links them. You need to mobilize the people. You need to have the buy-in of the people to pursue that vision. Everybody has an important role to play. We must all key into it. The immigration officials at the airport, because when foreign investors are coming in, the first point of contact are Nigerian embassy officials. Yes. The media was buying too, because they go to the internet, they see what is going on in your country. We should stop running down our country. There was a youth conference during the hunger, and there was a brilliant Nigerian lady who was saying, look, you want foreigners to come to your country, and yet you are destroying your country online. Who will come to your country? So the media, we criticize ourselves too much. So, and look at all those areas where we've achieved best performances in the world. Nobody has said anything about it. ICT, banking, and cement. And now by the time Alaja Aliko commissions the refinery, we become next exporter, the biggest refinery in the world. So that's another area where we've done well. So let's just move to other areas. That's why I believe it's doable.
Yeah.
Honest. Yeah. And entrepreneurs have an important role to play. Nano, micro, small, medium, and large entrepreneurs have an important role to play. And SMEs, BDSPs have an important role to play in preparing the entrepreneurs to take on these challenges effectively.
Interesting conversation there. I've been speaking to Dr. Waheed Olagunju, who is the Chairman National Committee on the Accreditation and Certification of our national business service providers. I must thank you so much, former Managing Director of Bank of Industry, insights into all of this and, you know, good details. I also got some points really here to hold today, but I must thank you for your time. I wish to have this conversation again.
I'll need any time.
All right.
I had to serve Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. There.